We're starting a new Sefer in Chumash, and it's the week of Tisha B'Av. And Devarim usually falls in the week of the 9 days. And if that's the case, then there's a relationship there. Mm-hmm. There's a reason. It's a timely thing. And the Parshiot line up with what's going on in the Jewish calendar. So where's the correlation? Before I go into what I prepare, like, anyone have any thoughts about it, or you heard something? This is what you asked me to print for you. Okay.
Oh,
it's 4 pages.
Yeah, it's a long thing.
It's a long amazing. Okay, so yeah, so before we go, what's going on in your life the week of the 9 days? What's going on? Like, personally, from a personal place, like, if you can relate it to the 9 days, like, what are you feeling? What are you
closer to home? It's really the only place that I would come to. Like, I feel more to stay like in one place, listening to a lot of different shiurim, thinking, right, trying to write in my journal what I'm feeling every day, even what's hard for me right now. Just writing like the rakim that are going on. And for me, I mean, I'm always taking care of my husband, so like I'm kind of on that maslul of
so what I'm hearing,
my patience and working on frustration, and imagine what.
So it's more pnimi stuff, less chitzoni stuff, staying close to home.
Exactly.
And
I'm swimming. I am swimming.
That's good because
it's important to me. I have.
No, they say
many.
If it's for briut and it's part of your regime that you always do. Yeah. Anyone else want us to say anything about like a sense of? You feel something missing. What? Something important is missing. Yeah, there's a certain heaviness.
There's a certain sorrow of having to go through it again. Like
there's a sorrow of having to go through it again, but the sorrow of having to go through it again because there's a real sorrow there.
That's what I wish we could say that. I wish we had all this, but I understand. I understand the process, and we have to go through it.
We have to go. Right. Going through it makes us appreciate things that we don't appreciate when we don't go through it. And it's part of the Yeridat Tzorach Aliyah, whatever you want to call it. The Ratzov Shava, whatever you want to call it. So B'ezrat Hashem, I'm picking from Likutei Halachos. I'm going to Likutei Halachos to give over. And it's based on this Likutei Halachos on the Parsha. Hold on. It's going to be on the Pasuk. No, it just says, Parshat Dvorim Kodem Tisha B'Av. The fact that we read Devarim in the week of Tisha B'Av. That's how he starts the Likutei Halachos. But it's based on a lesson it's based on a lesson in the Likutei Moran, the second volume. It's called Tinyana, 78. And in that lesson, Rabbi Nachman speaks about something called Otzar Matnat Chinam, which is a treasury of free gifts. Not because of schus, not because it's like, why do you get what you get? It's a free gift. There's a certain grace period, or not even a period. There's a concept of I give you out of grace, not because you deserve it, or not because you have done anything. Yeah, how you doing? Welcome. So, and he explains it like this: before Matan Torah, what did the world survive at? What schus did the world have before Matan Torah? We didn't have Torah and mitzvahs, which Chazal tell us this is what keeps the whole thing going. It's our effort in doing the mitzvah and aligning yourself with Ratzon Hashem that brings down the shefa with all the blessings and everything like that. So how did the world survive for 26 generations? Welcome, Malka. For 26 generations before Matan Torah. So he says, it was functioning from something called Otsar Matnat Chinam, the treasury of free gifts, of gifts from Chinam, Chen, out of grace. And then he goes into a whole big discussion to try to explain to us, how does that function? What free gifts? Why should that work? And it's very problematic to say that, because then the Rishaim can just like live off these free gifts, and
Basically they do.
and how is that fair? That a tzaddik is working to be a good person, and then the Rasha is not working on anything except for himself, and he's thriving. And okay, so he goes into that whole concept, and he says it's not exactly that there was no Torah before Torah. Before Matan Torah, it's not exactly that we didn't have the Torah. We had the Torah, but hidden in nature. We have Asara Ma'amarot. We have the 10 utterances that God created the world, Vayomer Elokim, Breshit Bara, Vayomer Elokim. And embedded in these Ma'amarot, in a hidden inside the Ma'amarot, are the Asara Dibrot, are the 10 commandments. And in the 10 commandments is all of Torah Kula. There's a way to learn it out. All the 613 mitzvahs and everything to do with it is in the Asara Dibrot. So in Asara Ma'amarot, it's hidden. So it's not like exactly there wasn't Torah. There was Torah, but it's a hidden thing. But it's still called Matnat Chinam because we're not doing anything in an outward way explicitly for like Torah and mitzvahs to connect us to Hashem. We're just doing whatever we're doing to be a good person or whatever it is, or not. We're just living. And then he brings in the whole discussion about a tzaddik who spends day and night learning Torah. But even a tzaddik has to sometimes take a break from studying Torah. He has maybe business to take care of, private matters, the body needs its attention. So how could, and if Torah is everything, and if our connection to Hashem through Torah is the dveikus that we have through Torah, how could a person, knowing that, tasting that, experience that, part for even a second from Torah? Because she's our life. Torah is our life. So how does the tzaddik allow himself, give himself permission? Okay, so the body needs its stuff, and we understand. But when the tzaddik takes a break, he's essentially taking a break from what? From the dveikus he has with Torah. So how is he surviving in those moments? Otzar Matnat Chinam. When the tzaddik takes a break because he needs to take a break, not because he's distracted by the world, because that's what it is to be a mensch in this world. You need to take care of your affairs. And it means for that amount of time, you can't be plugged in exactly 100% in Torah. And then Rabbi Nachman says, in those moments, in those times that the tzaddik is not b'dveikus with the Torah that he's learning, what is he? A pashat yid. He's a plain pashat person. Because he's not b'dveikus. He's not having his chiyut, his life force, coming to him because of the learning. It's coming from the Torah that's hidden in the Asara Ma'amarot of the world, b'matnat chinam. He's functioning off, he's still connected to Torah. You can't say he's not connected to Torah, but in a very hidden way, in a very concealed way that feels like it's a matnat chinam, because you're not asked to do anything right now. Yeah, what did you want to say?
How about mitzvot? Like if you're doing mitzvot, it's a physical thing. You can bring holiness.
Right. But let's say you're not engaged in a mitzvah.
Okay.
Let's say whatever it is you're doing. It's hard not to be engaged in a mitzvah because the Shulchan Aruch regulates even if you go to the boys and girls room, there's a way of how to conduct yourself. Okay. But let's say your mind's on that. When you go to the bathroom, you can't think of Torah. Okay, and when you have to, welcome Shoshana. When you have to focus on a conversation with a boss or an employee or something, you have to be completely 100% fully present. You're not in the background. I have to do it birat shamayim al pi Torah, but I'm focused on this. My mind is present with what it is that I'm doing. So where does he get his chiyas from? There's such a thing as when people don't engage in Torah, there's otzar matnat chinam that we tap into, and that gives us chiyas because Hashem gives us these opportunities to anyway get chiyas from free gifts like that. Why is this significant? What?
This is life force.
Chiyut is a life force. Chaim. Okay, now what does this have to do with Devarim, and what does this have to do with Tisha B'Av and the week of Tisha B'Av? It's too bad Yudit's not here because she's on her way.
Waiting for a bus.
Oh, too bad. Okay, she'll listen to it because this is for her with all her sovereignty movement and everything like that. Welcome, Chavale. Okay, so we have like this. We have a Sarah Mamorot. This is from Likutei Moharan 78, second volume, Tinyana, okay? And Otzar Matnat Chinam. So we have the 7 utterances, and in the 10 utterances that God created the world with. And then inside them is Torah, because you can't have the world without Torah. So the Torah effectively was given 26 generations after, except you can't have a world without Torah. It's there in a hidden way. I don't remember why. Did I give this a shir here? Or did I give it somewhere else? I don't remember. But the original plan of HaKadosh Baruch Hu is that we connect to Hashem. We didn't need the Torah really. We needed the Torah because we messed up with humanity messed up with Dor Enosh before Noach and then Dor Palaga until finally Hashem says, okay, I gotta create a new model here, a guidebook, and give the guidebook. But so how did Hashem expect the world to be aligned with his Ratzon without giving them the instruction manual right when he created it? Just through nature. You live in this world and you can get so much chokhmah because God created everything with his dibur. He put his chokhmah in everything. Kulam b'chokhmah asita. There's sechel in everything, sechel eloki in everything. And the highest way of connecting to Hashem, really, initially, plan A was just live in this world and enjoy the glory and understand the designer from the design and understand what you need to do from observation. And that's why the original 7 mitzvahs that are called the Noahide laws of Bnei Noach have to do with just maintaining world order, nature. Just don't corrupt what I gave you. Here it is. It's not Me'al Teva. It's all mitzvahs al pi teva. When did I say this? I thought this. I think we've touched on this. We've touched on this? I said it? Okay. Whatever. So I said it now, but my memory. Okay. But Tocham Gnuzim Aseret Hador. So there's Torah in the words that brought about nature. Okay. In the Breshit bara Elokim et hashamayim et haaretz, there's already, but it's hidden. It's hidden. It's not revealed. It was revealed 26 generations later. Now, what is this? Kol Torah. So there's Torah in everything in nature, and everything, in every actions that we do, in everything that we find ourselves doing, engage with. Even from he brings an example of a tree chopper, of a chotev etzim. In every action that we can possibly do in this world, there's Torah. And the tzaddik that has to take a break from Torah, he becomes that type of pashut person. That I don't know Torah, but I'm functioning and I'm getting Torah just by living in this world because there's Torah in any case implanted in everything in this world. And so he's still connected to the Torah. This, for those who came a little bit late, this answers the question. A person, a tzaddik who sits and learns Torah and understands that his life is completely dependent on Torah, mamash, and the learning Torah, How does he take a break from Torah ever? How does he allow himself? How does he give himself permission? He's a human being. He has to take care of stuff, but you'd think he'd die at that moment because his life is completely connected to the psukim and the sugyas that he's learning. He says no, because there's such a thing as otzar mitnat chinam, and even if he takes a break, he goes up, takes a break, he's still Torah, so that he's still connected to Torah that gives him life, but he's not engaged at those moments. He's not engaged as a tzaddik. He's engaged as a pashat person. Okay, that's important to remember. We'll see why. Okay. And then he says, this is the real meaning of derech eretz kadma laTorah. Derech eretz is the way of the land that preceded Torah. Derech eretz, literally, historically, chronologically speaking, derech eretz came before Torah. Okay? And then he says, Rabbi Nachman, haderech, what's the derech? It's haderech shel Eretz Yisrael. It's not just the way of the land, because the whole point is to get to Eretz Yisrael, and that's the 9 days, okay? The whole point is to get to Eretz Yisrael, to Yerushalayim, to Beit HaMikdash, to Gilui Hashem, to that dvekas. So the derech is derech Eretz Yisrael. Koach Kedushat Eretz Yisrael, על ידי בחינת כוח מעשה והגיד לעמו לתת להם נחלת גויים. I'll explain. Rabbi Nachman says, what is this? Breshit bara Elokim. The utterances that created the world, that there's hidden Torah in it. What does Rashi say on the first pasuk in Bereshis? The question is, why did God create? Give us the Torah, start the Torah by telling us that He created the world. It's a guidebook of mitzvahs. Why doesn't He start with Yitzias Mitzrayim, Achodesh Hazeh Lachem, with the first mitzvah that Am Yisrael got? He gave it to us. He didn't give it to anybody else. So what does Rashi say? Koach ma'asav yigid le'amo, to show it's a lesson in emunah. Everybody has to know, Jews have to know, that the world was created by God, and Eretz Yisrael belongs to the Jews. Why? Because God decided that it's going to belong to the Jews. And maybe it was in the hands of other people before, but He's God who created the world. He can decide it was in the hands of other people before, and now it's not going to be in their hands. Now it's going to be in the hands of the Jews. Now, Rabbi Nachman blows our mind with this next thing, okay? We think those are enough of a words, but is really chazak enough? Is it really like convincing enough? Can really go to the United Nations and say, Rashi, what's your problem? Don't you see?
But he didn't mean it. He meant it for us.
He meant it for us. But even for us, how do we understand it? You want to give it to us? Give it to us. What's this going business of going into them and taking from them? And look at what we have to deal with now. It's the same thing. What Rashi said. You're thieves. It doesn't belong to you. Where does that koach of the Sitra Achad Klipot come to speak such things? Okay? And he say like this. From this Rashi, we understand that the koach of Eretz Yisrael comes from the 10 utterances that God created the world, beginning with Breshit bara Elokim. The koach of Eretz Yisrael is rooted in the emunah that God created the world and He can do anything with the world that He wanted. And this is how He decided. He's going to give it to them, but why give it to them first before giving it to us? Because this is the way of the world. Because everything in the world, the klipa precedes the fruit. The shell precedes the fruit. Now, he's going to explain it even further. If we would believe 100% that this place is our place, that Eretz Yisrael is ours by virtue of the fact that God created the world and He wanted it to be ours, and if we go with full emunah and full confidence in our own selves, amongst ourselves, if we would just really have that without doubting, without any iota of doubt, there would not be any koach for any klippa or sitra achar or Hamas or anybody else, or Britain or France, now their nonsense that they're talking about giving Palestinians a state. They wouldn't say that we came and took what belongs. The only reason that they have a koach, the chutzpah, the gall to speak like that is because we are lacking the emunah that this place is our place. And if we don't have the emunah of the fruit, of the whole ikar of the inyan, that koach masab, that this is Hashem's ratzon, and that's why we're here, in an unwavering way, that this place is our way, then the klippa wouldn't think of its own importance over the fruit. We're handing them over the koach to speak in such a brazen way because we're not believing in the fruit. And what's left if there's no fruit? It's just klippa. If there's just klippa, so they take everything. It's true. They have it's a right claim. It's ours to begin with. But only in a temporary way. Because you're just the klippa that preceded the fruit. Now that's important for us to know. We don't need to tell it to the goyim, because the peel of the fruit will get the point once we get to the fruit. Once the fruit will ripen, once we get to a full emunah, once we shine into ourselves, once we develop in this emunah and this self-confidence, everyone else will get the message. It's like when you approach a kid or a teacher, when they approach a student with fear, with lack of confidence, you're mincemeat in their hands. That's it. They've whiffed you out and forget about it. You lost control. When a teacher comes in with presence, they don't have to say anything. They just feel your presence, and we don't mess with this teacher. We don't mess with her. We can't manipulate mommy now. She really, like, right now, she's like in her game. She's found that thing, that place in her, that we can't play this game in. There's no manipulation anymore. Okay, so koach me'asav shalidei zeh Yisrael yicholim leilech likvosh. And if we would have had that confidence, at any point we will decide to have that confidence, we will just go in and come to Eretz Yisrael. And that's why Hashem created the world b'shit bara and told us that in the Torah, so that no one should be able to tell us that we're thieves. That we should know that b'shit bara, it's a God's world. How much do you believe in it? Hashem says Eretz Yisrael is ours. How much do you believe in it? These chayalim that are fighting now, Hashem should protect them enough with the losses, and everyone is coming from this camp. So many of them, of the ones that grew up nurturing Eretz Yisrael, Torah, Israel, Kadosh Baruch Hu, Am Yisrael Echad, and there's no compromising on any of that. It's the Dati Leumi, the yeshivas that they're teaching them this, and you see, it's like lions. They go and they're to Ad Mesirut Nefesh, because that's it, and their wives are supporting them, and the whole community is hugging them, and it's the people who don't get it, who don't have that emunah, that's saying, you guys are crazy. Isn't it enough with the sacrifices? Just go make your stupid deals. What, so they can kill us again? You don't believe in the story. You're willing to give them with all kinds of things, to give Eretz Yisrael away. Now, what does this have to do with the Parsha, and what does this have to do with Tisha b'Av? Because in the Parsha, Moshe Rabbeinu talks about Chet HaMeraglim. You could have gotten into Eretz Yisrael. What tripped you up? And Rabbi Nachman brings about this in this lesson. So the whole Bein HaMetzarim period, the whole Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, the 3 weeks up until Tisha b'Av, is one broken faith after another, one act of broken emunah after another. With the Luchot, we went to Chet HaEgel, and Tisha b'Av with the Chet HaMeraglim. That's what had us missing out on Eretz Yisrael, and that's what got us to stay in the Midbar for 40 years, and that's what gives koach to the goyim to say, listimatem, you're just thieves. So, hold on. Actually, what I just said now was the Kutei Halachos. It was the Kutei Halachos taking the messages from from the Kutimara and doing it. So here it is. So the koach of the listim. You know what? It's good to read the psukim from Chumash. I need a Chumash. Okay, I'll just do it from before lunch. Okay, we'll just do it from here. Okay. Dvorim. Let's see if I'll remember where it is. I think it's Pasuk Paragim. Paragim? No, Paragim is already Vetchana, no? Dvorim. Dvorim. Bet. No, it's Aleph. It's in Aleph somewhere. He goes into Hot Chachar. Now listen to this. It's heartbreaking what he says here. Okay, so Moshe is telling over. This is his final words to Am Yisrael before he passes on. It's his final words of Moshe Rabbeinu that became Torah. So he says to them as they're standing on the Ever HaYarden in Moab, Hashem Elokeinu diber elenu b'chav. Hashem God spoke to us in Chorev, telling us, Rav lechem shevet, it's enough staying in this place by the mountain. It's time to move on. It's time to go to Eretz Yisrael. Pnu usu lechem uvo hara emori ve'kol shchenav. Go into that land that Hashem is trying to give you. Okay, it wants to give you. And he gives a whole big map of Israel. It's bigger than the map that we have now, present day. Okay, from there to there, Har Prat all the way to. Okay, I gave you before you the land. Bo urshu et haaretz, come and inherit the land. Asher nishba Hashem alavotechem leAvraham, liYitzchak, leYaakov. That God promised to you, to your forefathers, Avraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, latet lachem lezaram acharem, to give to you and their children after them. Vayomer alechem ba'et hahi lemor lo uchal levadi. And then I said to Hashem, I need. It's too. I can't. I need help. Hashem Elokechem hirba etchem. You're so many. Kanein hara pu pu pu. He blesses them, and they should be 1,004, like whatever they are, like more like the stars in the sky. Hashem Elokev etchem Yosef alechem kachem elef pamim vevarech etchem kasher diber lechem. Eicha esa levadi. It's a key to Eicha. He says, Moshe Rabbeinu says, Eicha, how can I carry you on by myself? There's there's so much tircha, so much burden, and masa v'rivchem, and there's so many concerns that I have to take care of. And I gathered chachamim, nevunim, v'yiduim l'shivtechem. So I gathered up, like the wise people and nevunim and yidim, and I made them into heads of your tribes. V'tanuti v'tomru tova devan. You said, okay, fine, kasher dibarta. V'kach et rashei shivtechem, and I took the heads of the shvatim, anashim chachamim v'yeduim, v'atem v'eten otam rashim, and I gave them to be ministers over you, ministers of thousands, ministers of hundreds. V'atzavet shoftechem, and I commanded the judges to do good judgment. Lo takiru panim, and he's hold on. V'atzavet chem b'etei kol dvarim asher tasun mechorev v'nelech. And then after all of this, it says, and now it's time to move from Chorev. And we'll go into Eretz Yisrael. And don't be afraid. And then you came to me. This is it. And then ותקרבון אליי כולכם ותאמרו נשלחה אנשים לפנינו ויחפרו לנו את הארץ. Send spies before us. וישובו אותנו דבר, and they'll bring us word. ויטב בעיני, and I went along with it, and I sent the 12 Nisim from the tribes, and they went to this place, ויקחו בידם, and they came back with the fruits from the land, and they came back with the best of the land of Israel, ולא אביתם לעלות, and you did not want to go up. ותמרו את פי Hashem, and you rebelled against the word of Hashem, ותרגנו בו עליכם, and you remained in your tents, and you were speaking Lashon Hara and speaking all kinds of bad things, and brought up the hatred of Hashem, Kivyachol, that this is why Hashem brought you out of Mitzrayim, so that you should die there in that place. It's so painful to hear these words, right? Hashem Elokechem ha'olech lifnechem. Now, and then he says, how do you even come to such a conclusion? Hashem Elokechem ha'olech lifnechem, yilachem lachem. Hashem that took you out. Have you forgotten Yetziat Mitzrayim? Have you forgotten all the miracles that happened in Mitzrayim? Have you forgotten the splitting of the sea? Have you forgotten Matan Torah? Have you forgotten all like the miraculous way that you're living? What are you rebelling against?
But how come you didn't say that when he came back? When the spies?
What do you mean? He fell on his face and he was crying all over the place. Yeah, he did. They weren't ready to receive. That's the thing. They weren't. The thing is, it's like, okay, Hashem Elokechem ha'olech lifnechem, yilachem lachem. We have to assume that he did. I mean, he fell on his face and cried and had to beg Hashem not to wipe them out, right? They knew that. Hashem Elokechem ha'olech lifnechem, hu yilachem lachem, kachol asher ratzah. He will go before you and he'll fight for you and like everything he did in Mitzrayim. Uvimidbar asher ra'ita asher nesacha Hashem. Everything that Hashem carried you in the midbar, like kasher yisa ish et bno, like a man carries his child through a long way, baderech asher alachtem ad bochem adamo kamazeh, until we got to this place. Uvadavar hazeh inchem ma'aminim, and in this thing you don't believe. So why did Tisha b'av happen? Chet HaMeraglim. That's the anniversary date. Why did the Mechet HaMeraglim happen? Lo ha'emantem. What did you not believe in? What did you not believe in? Ha'olech lifnechem b'derech latur lachem. What did they not believe? Koach ma'aseh v'shim yigid le'amo. Breshit bara Elokim, that Hashem created the world, and that Hashem is the master of the world. If you don't have that much emunah to know that Hashem can give Eretz Yisrael to whoever he wants, and he decided to give it to you, and it's not like other people lived there before. It was just a klippa that precedes the fruit, because that's the way everything happens. We have to go through a klippa before we get anything. We have to break an egg before we see a cake. You got to crack that egg. Malasot. It's everything that we do goes through that. Before we see any advancement, any improvement in ourselves, we have to go through klippa within ourselves. Everything happens like that. Before we eat a fruit, Hashem precedes the fruit that he gives, doesn't expose the fruit right away. He encloses it with a klippa, and that's meant to protect it and help it to develop inside until the fruit matures inside, that it can be. But meanwhile, the klippa is there. It's a protective layer from the elements and the content of the things. But then once you have the fruit inside, and you don't partake of the fruit, and you think the klippa is all that there is, and then there's decay. It falls off the tree. It disconnects from its chiyut, and the klippa starts eating away at the fruit itself. And the klippa thinks it's like, so I was the whole reason to begin with. You see, where's the fruit? There's no fruit. They're just rot in there. So we have to. So Reb Nassan, he says this, that what the world is saying, what we're crying about of the Chorban, and the world pointing at us and saying, you deserve it, you miserable Jews, you thieves, right? You thieves. And we're saying, but we're not thieves. But then we have to act like we're not thieves. We have to stand with full confidence, with full emunah, that Breshit bara Elokim, and we have to have that emunah very, very strong. And that's what builds, that's the derech le'eretz Yisrael. That is
not just to say it, but to live it.
To live it, with full confidence, with not even have to say it. You project that, you project it no matter what. Shem Yishmo, all the Jews now in Yehuda v'Shomron, what they have to deal with now, and they're standing like lions, and they are not confused. They're not confused, but they're Moser Nefesh Ram Yisrael, and the rest of us have to get with the program. We have to understand that they're mamash living out the first Rashi in the whole Torah, and they are a tikkun for Chet HaMeraglim, which is the whole reason for the Chorban, because of lack of belief in this whole thing. So he says, Ma'klal sha'klipa kadma lapri. Okay, a minute. כל ההשפעות עוברים תחילה דרך הקליפות. Shefa first comes through the klipot. That's how Hashem designed it. Why? Because the klipa precedes the fruit. Why? We can ask why. We have such a thing as free choice. Ma lasot. Hashem designed it. We just get what he designed, and we have to work with what it is. We don't ask, but we see that when we hold on to, when we do, when we go about things with bchira chofshit, from a place of free choice, and we align ourselves with Ratzon of Hashem, be'emunah shlema, that Hashem created the world, and there's a Torah in the world, and even if it's not revealed Torah, it's implanted in the world, like we said, the Asara Ma'amarot, there's Otzar Matnat Chinam. We can say, actually, many of you don't come to my Tuesday morning class, but I just thought of something, that there's a big question that we learn on Tuesdays from Rav Techtel's book. The Charedim didn't want to have anything to do with building, settling the land to begin with, because they were chilonim, because they were non-shomer Torah and mitzvahs people doing it. But we see that they succeeded. There's bracha in what that they did. There's bracha in their efforts, right? And Rav Techtel, no, we see proof.
It's here.
They came before.
Structure.
Yeah. They came. All of the Torah that's here is in their schos. Who knows how many Bali Tshuva grandchildren they have? Those people. It's a big schut that they had. It's a big schut. But then I'm thinking about now, just based on this Torah, what was their bracha? If they weren't there being Torah, shomer Torah and mitzvahs, it was from Atzar Matnat Chinam. It's from the hidden Torah that's in the Asara Ma'amarot. They were engaged in the Derech Eretz, in the building of the land, the Derech Eretz, and the Derech L'Eretz Yisrael, and they were still. You can't say they weren't doing Torah. They were doing Torah, because building the land of Israel, Torah, but it's in a hidden way. It's from that Ma'amarot and not from outright psukim in the Torah. Okay, that was just something came into my head, and I'm going to come back to L'Kutalachas. That's why, because there's klippa that precedes everything has to go through a birur, a process of clarification. Why am I doing it? How am I doing it? Is it correct? Am I aligned with Torah? Am I aligned? Where is this? Where's my emunah here? Every time I approach something, to build the Beis HaMikdash, to come back to Eretz Yisrael, means I have to go the birur of through the klipot, internal and external, wherever they're coming from, okay? Because they're always there. We can't feel bad about having to go through the work of birurim. It's part of the process. It's part of the thing. We have to go through it. ואם על כן כל הדברים צריכים בירור מאחיזתם, והבירור על פי התורה, and the בירור, the ultimate בירור is through Torah, ואם לא מבר, and if we don't go through a בירור through Torah, if we don't mevar ourselves, if we don't metaken ourselves, and if we don't bring tikkun to ourselves and our society and our communities and our homes, al pi Torah, then guess what? They, the sitrach, the klippa, have a mouth and a pitchon peh to open up their mouth and say we're thieves. The only reason why, the thing that would shut them up and take that claim away from them is if we're on this land doing all the berurim that need to be done al pi Torah, be'emunah. And the first emunah is Hashem created the world, and He can do whatever He wants with it, and He gave us the Eretz Yisrael, and we have to go in a non-apologetic way. And if we don't hold by that, that's where they have. This is it's always like that. The koach of the goyim to hurt us is always coming from that place. V'ikar hashmira, and if we want protection from that, it's through Torah. Shekula emunah. It's all emunah. Because Torah, it's through the emunah we get to the belief in the kedusha, the emunah kedusha that Hashem created the world. So it has to be, the Shmirah is Torah, because Torah is Emunah, and Emunah is keeping us connected to Hashem, that He created everything. And once that we're open ourselves up, and internalize this Emunah, then that quiets down all of the other modes out there from the klippas. And then he says, Be'emet, ma she'aya b'rashutam, and he says, so it's true, Rav Nassim says, it was first, Eretz Yisrael was first in their land, and it came from Ratzon Hashem, because that's the way of Tikkun Olam, that the klippa precedes the fruit. And the fact that it was in their hand to begin with, it was all for our own sake, so that afterwards we will take it from them, because that's the way of the Bria. That's the Ratzon Hashem. Breshit, Bishvil Reshit, the whole Reshit bara Elokim, Breshit Reshit, who's Reshit? Reshit Yisrael, for the firstborn of Kadosh Baruch Hu, which is Yisrael. Kol zman shelo nitgaleh, and as long, what? This is yeah, as long as this and as long as the emunah, this it will not be, this emunah in Hashem will not be revealed. So they have, so there's Chorban, and there's going to be there's Bein HaMetzarim, and there's Yud Zayin B'Tammuz, and there's Tisha B'Av, because all of it has to do with Derech L'Eretz Yisrael. Whole Tisha B'Av is Chet HaMereglim. That's why we have a Tisha B'Av. And what's Tisha B'Av? What's Chet HaMereglim? Lack of Emunah, and what? That we don't believe in enough that this place is our place. There were giants here. There were all kinds of things that scared them. All kinds of agendas, that conceptions and conception. I can't stand that word, but they use it in the news. But all of those things that they right, and they believed the lies. They believed the lies.
And unfortunately, rogue Jews believe the lies.
And they lost the prize. They thought the prize would be, it's enough to stay in Midbar Sinai with Hashem feeding us man forever. He says, no, that's not what this is about.
They had to Beit HaMikdash, because now we keep.
What do you mean they had Beit HaMikdash?
She's always asking, like, how could it be that when we did have the Beit HaMikdash, how did we blow it so
Because
badly?
we always have, because that's a good question, because we always have free choice. And because it wasn't internalized enough. Wasn't internalized enough. We got to a complacent place.
And not everyone. I mean, it's always, there's some who got it, and there's always many who don't.
But there was enough of a many that didn't, that caused the light to be removed from the Beit HaMikdash, leaving it an empty shell of a place that then it could be destroyed.
Right.
And so Hashem, in His infinite compassion to us, destroyed the temple, kicked us off the land, so that Bezat Hashem now, at least, we won't let that happen again. Bezat Hashem. Now, so I'm going to, we still have time. So now I'm going to go to Likutei Halachos. Oh, I'm going to share here, and where he says it like outright a little bit. We'll see. Okay. Rav Nassim, okay? Choshen Mishpat, Ilchot Shomer Sachar, Halacha Gimel. V'zeh shekorim Parshat Dvarim kodem Tisha B'Av. And that fact that we read Dvarim, okay? Always it precedes Tisha B'Av. Ki kol Parshat Dvarim medaberet mehaderech le'Eretz Yisrael. Because all of Dvarim has to do with being on the way to go to Eretz Yisrael. You read it, you'll see. He's giving them Musar, he's giving them rebuke, but we could have had it in a few short days. Instead, you made it last for 40 years and you lost your chance, and we didn't get, and me too. Because of this, I don't even get to go to Eretz Yisrael. If you notice the rebuke of Moshe Rabbeinu, says it's all because shepagmu, that they brought blemish to this thing of going towards Eretz Yisrael. They didn't want to go to Eretz Yisrael. They rejected going to Eretz Yisrael.
So is this the people who didn't come yet?
I don't know. Everyone, well, let's just look at ourselves. Because, okay, we're here. but we still have a ways to go. And everybody, I don't know how to answer that question.
I know, well,
It's
that's
very,
the problem. We don't know how to answer any of these questions.
no, what do you mean? I know how to answer to my question. How resolved am I how committed I am, where do I put myself in the line, how much money am I willing to spend on this, and everything like that, all my resources. What am I going to be teaching about? Everybody in their own private thing has to be really like have it screaming in their I have to, whatever I do, it has to be the derech Chatzisa. Maybe that's what Rabbi Nachman meant by saying everywhere I go to Eretz Yisrael. It's very deep. And the derech Eretz Yisrael is rooted in the emunah b'reshit bara Elokim. Otherwise, we have no claim to anything. כמבואר שם היטב שכל תוכחה של משה שם היא על שפגמו ישראל בדרך לארץ ישראל, על שלא היו חזקים באמונתם. They weren't, which is exactly what Moshe Rabbeinu said. Moshe Rabbeinu was saying here, right? They weren't strong in their emunah, כמו שמתחיל שם, as the parsha begins. 11 יום מחורב דרך הר סיר עד קדש ברנע. 11 days travel. And Rashi, and you did those 11 days in 3 days. And Rashi said there, "Ein lecha derech ktsara." There's no greater, shorter distance than this, that you could have just made it all the way into Eretz Yisrael in a few short days. וכל כך הייתה שכינה מתלבטת בשבילכם למהר ביתכם לארץ. And so much the Shechina Kedusha did its thing, worked to get you there as fast as possible Eretz Yisrael. Hi. וכן הולך בכל דברי תוכחתו בכל הסדרה כולה. And this, Moshe Rabbeinu goes on this way of rebuke, the whole parsha, that he rebukes them, that they caused a delay in entering Eretz Yisrael to the point that they had to be delayed for 40 years. And all of this, על ידי חטא העגל והמרגלים. All of this is because what happened בין המצרים. י"ז בתמוז חטא העגל, חטא המרגלים תשע באב. And all of this is pgam emunah. What do we need to be working on? Emunah. Emunah, emunah, emunah. כמו שכתוב, ובדבר הזה אינכם מאמינים, as Moshe Rabbeinu says. And in this thing, you don't believe in Hashem. What's this thing? Everything Hashem gave us. All the miracle. How do you not believe? Where's your lack of faith? Hashem carried you like a father carrying his child. All this way. כיכר תיקון הדרך לארץ ישראל הוא אמונה שהיא בחינת כוח מעשיו. Because the main tikkun, which is on the derech לארץ ישראל, the main tikkun, הדרך לארץ ישראל, the way to ארץ ישראל, is the belief שהיא בחינת כוח מעשיו. And what's the belief? כוח מעשיו, יגיד לעמוד, that God created the world, first Rashi of the Torah. It's ours. This land is our land. And it has to do with Beis HaMikdash. How? Because this is where the Beis HaMikdash is. Eretz Yisrael is in Beit HaMikdash will be built when Eretz Yisrael will be in the hands of the Jewish people, and it brings healing to the whole entire world. It's Breshit bara Elokim. The world needs it, not just us. And we need this emunah b'chinat koach ma'asav v'anu ma'aminim she'Hashem yitbarach bara hakol. We need to believe that God created everything. As it says, Bereshit bara u'virtzono netana lahem, and through his will he gave it to them, and then he changed it, and then virtzono, and from his will he gave it to us. V'hem pagmu bazeh, and they blemished this. Al yedei zeh garmu lahem ikuv kol kach, and through this they caused very much delay. V'zeh garam lanu kol hachurbanot, and that's what caused us to have all of these destructions. Churban bayit rishon, churban bayit sheni, ki al yedei zeh yesh koach lesitra acha, because this is what? This lack of emunah gives a sitra acha. Them, Hamas, and Iran and every other nation that's against us, koach to the sitra acha, to wake up each time to try to chase us out of Eretz Yisrael. Shezeh nimshach al yedei she'omrim lehem adayin listim, and this is coming from those words that say they call us thieves. Atem kavashtem Eretz Yisrael, you conquered Eretz Yisrael. Mechar she'Yisrael batzmam pagmu, and why? What gives them the koach? Because the Jews themselves blemished the emunah. We don't walk around fully with the belief that 100% full confidence, and this is what brought blemish, pagam, to this koach ma'asa v'ginamo. This got brought weakness into the system. V'al ken korim zot kodem Tisha b'av. And this is why we read this before Tisha b'av, because it's because of this lack of emunah, rooted in Chet HaMeraglim, that is the cause of the Chorban, that we have Galus and don't have the Beis HaMikdash. And then after we read Vayetchanan b'Shabbat Nachamu, in order to draw from the Otzar Matnat Chinam, Shimshich Moshe Rabbeinu. I'm not going to go into that right now, but
that's the good part coming.
But that's the good part coming, that we can still Vayetchanan, that even no. You know what? You know what? Why should I skip it? It's very important. Hold on. ואחר כך קוראים את חנן בשבת נחמו כדי להמשיך האוצר מתנת חינם. שהמשיך משה רבנו. Who had more schos than Moshe Rabbeinu? And yet, ואת חנן. Next week's parsha, right? ואת חנן, I came to you not from schos, not because I'm a Moshe Rabbeinu, not because of everything I've done for the Jewish people and you. I come relying on your grace. On the Otzar Matnat Chinan. What do we have to learn from this? This is how we approach Hashem, not from our schos, but from Matnat Chinam. And why is that chazak? Because this is mechazek, Otzar Matnat Chazak is mechazek the emunah of Briat HaOlam and the first Rashi. Because where does Matnat Chinam, what is that? It's the hidden Torah in the 10 utterances that God created the world with. If you remember the beginning of the class, right? So we draw upon that, and that gives the whole structure, a backbone. להמשיך אוצר מנהגכם, שהמשיך משה רבנו בריבוי תפילותיו, שהתפלל לבוא לארץ ישראל, שהכל היה בכוח אוצר מתנת חינם. ועל ידי זה אף על פי שהוא בעצמו לא בא בארץ ישראל, even though he didn't come to ארץ ישראל, אף על פי כן על ידי זה המשיך אלינו אוצר. And because he prayed in such a prayer of מתנת חינם, this we can also draw upon his prayer. We can his legacy to us. This is our nechama, that in the time of Galus from our land, yes, and even in Eretz Yisrael, we're still in Galus. We don't have the Beit HaMikdash. That piece of real estate is not technically Israel property. And we have to rely on the chesed, but we have to mechazek this concept of Bereshit bara and pave the way to Eretz Yisrael to have it all be ours. That's what paves the way. So now, just to wrap it up a little bit, what's the core failure? Lack of emunah, right? This delays our entry into the land. This is spiritual weakness. This delays the building of the Beit HaMikdash. This weakens all the dots that need to be connected to bring. A lot of people talk about Sinat Chinam at this point, at this time, right? And for many years, this is what we work on. Sinas Chinam is the thing that destroyed the temple. Ahavat Chinam is the thing that's going to be built in the temple. But I think in this kufa that we're living in, and with the war that's unending, and the whole agenda of everybody's lips is Eretz Yisrael, who has the right to this land, and we're fighting for every inch. And I think this Torah needs to be shared and spread, and maybe that's the nekuda of emunah just for this year, to be mechazek that in ourselves, that's the derech to kivush Eretz Yisrael, to conquering the land. I think at this point we know about ahavat chinam. We know we need to be good to each other. We know all of that. We know about the ahavat chinam. We know to move away from sinat chinam. But how much do we have it in us to scream this point out? Eretz Yisrael is ours no matter what. And understand that this is the thing that God had lost from our hands. That we stop believing in it. Delays in entering the land, it's spiritual weakness. Emunah in what? Shashem bara et hakol. Kolel, including entering into Eretz Yisrael. So the lack of emunah empowers what? The klippas, the spiritual opposition. Our doubt creates spiritual vulnerability, allowing enemies to claim that we're thieves. Root of exile and destruction through tefillot. So the root of exile is the thieves, which is the root of exile and destruction. Now, what's the antidote to that? What are we going to do to help us? The tefillot. And we're not, even if we don't go with tefillot. It's a bad idea to Hashem say, look at my schosim, because then if he opens up the books, he's going to look at the other stuff too, not just what you wanted to look at. So bad idea, okay? So it's always a good idea, matnat chinam. I don't deserve. I'm just based on your words of the Torah. Your words. Reshit bara Elokim. And that first Rashi, koach ma'asav yigid le'amo, which is a pasuk somewhere. Where's that pasuk from? Koach ma'asav yigid le'amo. From you, your will is to give it to us. By virtue of that fact that we are your people, we are your chosen people, this is your chosen land, and this is where you chose to reveal your divinity to the whole world, and this is where blessing flows from here to the whole world, and through us, and through the kohanim, and all the avodah, and everything like that. So by virtue of that fact, of the Breshit Bara that you created, then go ahead and daven for what you need to daven for. Based on that, please help us come to a better place, a peaceful place, and the basement which will be built. Once grace sustains us, like the matnat chinam is the thing that sustains us when merit is lacking. Our return, not through force, but inner repair. Okay, I don't know. I wrote that. Okay, it's like, okay, we inner repair. Inner repair of what? Of the emunah. So emunah is reconnecting to our inheritance, and reconnecting inheritance builds, and will build the Beit HaMikdash. So just for a little bit of a thinking in terms of a kivun, of what we can think about for as a personal avoda until Tisha b'av, it should be a moed, Bezrat Hashem, amen. In what ways, everyone should ask, in what ways do I delay my own arrival by doubting the path? We all have a path to go on. Not everyone's path is the same path, but we all have a stake in Eretz Yisrael. We all have something to do. What we learn on Tuesdays with Rav Tachtel is that there's a mitzvah, Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, and you can't miyashav Eretz Yisrael without bonei Yisrael, without building the land. But the Yishuv means you have people living on the land. So any effort living on the land is mechazek Yishuv Eretz Yisrael, and as mechazek the Yishuv, which is mechazek the emunah, that this is our place, and it's one of the biggest mitzvahs in the Torah. So never mind that we're not talking about specifically, like, technically going out and being farmers or supporting farmers right now, or whatever it is. But in what ways do I delay my own arrival by doubting the path that I need to be on, be'or Hashem? What's my path? Good question to ask. Hashem, you want something from me. You want an avoda from me. My avoda is supposed to build Eretz Yisrael, Am Yisrael, my own neshama, my family. Where am I filled with doubts that's delaying me arriving to the Eretz Yisrael of my Eretz Yisrael? In terms of the ratzon of Hashem. Okay. Second question. Where in my life am I walking a long road that could be shortened by deeper trust? Deeper trust.